Future Penn State wrestler PJ Duke versus current Penn State wrestler Tyler Kasak? It actually could happen. My prediction is it will happen. And that's just one of the few hypothetical all Penn State matchups that could go down at this weekend's World Team Trials.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Penn State wrestling is going to be very well represented at the World Team Trials this weekend. So represented, in fact, that some Penn State affiliate wrestlers might have to knock each other out in their respective brackets. This is Locked On Nittany Lions. I'm your host, Zach Seyko. And thanks so much for making us your first listen and watch every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. If you got a matchup you're looking forward to, whether it's Penn State related or not, if you have a Penn State wrestler that you are looking forward to the most at the World Team Trials this weekend, let me know down in the comments section. On this show, we are talking about the hypothetical matchup of Tyler Kasak versus PJ Duke at 70 kilos, other potential all Penn State matchups, and then Bo Bassett leaning towards Penn State. We'll wrap that up in the final segment. But Duke versus Kasak. Now, before I get into this, I do want to give a shout out to the Penn State Wrestling / NLWC Nittany Lion Wrestling Club fan account on X for bringing this to my attention, that there are so many Penn State wrestlers or Penn State affiliated wrestlers that there's going to be some hypothetical matchups here and some likely ones. And that most likely one is PJ Duke versus Tyler Kasak. Duke, class of 2025, Kasak, current Penn State wrestler at 70 kilos in the U20 bracket. Now, PJ Duke is waiting in the finals at the U20 side of things, and he just won the US Open, so that's why he is waiting in the best of 3 series, whereas Kasak is entering the tournament, and he's going to have to wrestle his way through to get to Duke. But Kasak, coming off his impressive freshman season, true freshman season, I should add, most importantly, it's the way he performed at NCAAs, where he lost in the opening round and had to wrestle back all the way through to finish in third. So he's going to have to wrestle to get there to meet Duke. And I love Kasak's chances just to get to the finals here at 70 kilos, especially coming off of the run he had at NCAAs. And he was majoring studs like Ridge Lovett, guys he struggled against in the regular season, Big Ten tournament, and then NCAAs, he got his revenge. Now, as far as a prediction goes, well, everyone wants to know who wins, right? Naturally, I would have to say Kasak, because he gave up his senior year of high school to compete, to wrestle, to train with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, to train at Penn State. He just finished third at NCAAs. He's older and he's faced a higher level of competition. All of that is fact. This is also a fact. PJ Duke is a stud. Downright stud. He is the #1 overall recruit, pound for pound, in the class of 2025. And Duke has also been actively training in freestyle, just wrestling in a few more tournaments. Whereas Kasak, coming off of the folk style, given that he just wrestled a collegiate season. However, but it's not like Kasak is going into this blindfolded here. No, he's been training in freestyle leading up to this. But I just give elite, as far as recency bias goes, Duke has been more involved in freestyle tournaments compared to Kasak as of late. At the end of the day, wrestling is wrestling, right? I know there's these small intricacies of freestyle versus folk style, right? But at the end of the day, Kasak isn't at a major disadvantage because he was wrestling folk style in the collegiate realm versus Duke, who might have wrestled a few more freestyle tournaments here. But Duke has his pedigree, and so does Kasak. It's truly a toss-up. This one is truly a toss-up, and people, let me know in the comments what you think about that. The high school wrestler versus the college wrestler. I lean Kasak simply because of the experience, but do not be surprised. Do not be surprised if Duke does pull this one off. He's just that good. Youngest New York State high school champion in history, He also has a Fargo championship, a Super 32 championship under his belt. And that's just one of these Penn State matchups. That's just one of these all Penn State hypothetical matchups here. There are other two matchups that people are going to want to get their popcorn ready. I'm going to tell you about them coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. You got to download the Gametime app because buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Now, we're getting towards the end of the NBA playoffs, but you can still grab some pretty sweet deals with Gametime because Gametime is the NBA's authorized ticket marketplace. And get this, tickets on the Gametime app actually drop as tip-off gets closer. Anytime you browse the app, you can see those playoff matchups for the NBA, NHL, even Major League Baseball tickets as well. You get those last minute ticket deals and you can see where you would be sitting. So there's no second guessing, no wondering what could be or anything like that. You get your exact point of view from any of the seats in the arena or the venue. Gametime has last minute deals, flash deals even within the app, and zone deals as well. Solid ticket coverage across the board gives you peace of mind with the Gametime app with every purchase. Are you ready to snag some of those playoff tickets? All you got to do is download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? Do you ever have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? How about you make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, and it's streaming 24/7 on YouTube and now on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is why I said the future is brighter than ever at Penn State. This is why the voice of Penn State wrestling, Jeff Byers, and I agreed that 2024, 2025, right, are loaded with an insane amount of talent because we're having a discussion like this. All like, oh, which Penn State wrestler is going to win in their respective bracket at the World Team Trials? May I mind you, not some independent tournament, the World Team Trials. So how about another all Penn State related finals? Again, in the U20 bracket here at 79 kilos, Zach Ryder, class of 2024, versus William Hinkle of in the class of 2025. Ryder is considered by some to be the best pound for pound wrestler in the class of 2024. He's definitely considered the number one in his weight class, but some even consider him best as pound for pound. When it comes to Hinkle, top 15 when it comes to pound for pound in the class of 2025. So you're having a consensus top 5 across the board versus a top 15 in the nation just in their respective years, 2024 versus 2025. I don't exactly have a prediction here. I'm sure the experts, I'm sure diehard fans know this matchup inside and out, but I will always side with experience here. Ryder, again, a year ahead, but both of them are extremely talented and why they are ranked in the nation and as well regarded as they are. Both wrestlers top in the nation, regardless. Both of them are committed to Penn State. That's the point above all else here is that they're both committed to Penn State. Minimum top 15 in the nation, and they could see each other in the finals at 79 kilos. Now, the last potential all Penn State matchup here at 57 kilos that could happen in the finals. There's actually three wrestlers that are in this weight group. Kale Nasdeo, Luke Lillidahl, and Nate Desmond. Luke Lillidahl and Nate Desmond, of course, are the high-profile commits. I don't want anybody to forget about Kale Nasdeo. Kale Nasdeo won a state title in Pennsylvania. He's been wrestling with the program now for a couple of years at Penn State. So Nasdeo has a chance to get to the finals as well. This is more so potentially Nate Desmond could face Kale Nasdeo, but I am a lot more intrigued by Luke Lillidahl versus Nate Desmond just because of the future aspect of it as well. Lillidahl coming in should wrestle as a true freshman. We've talked about that as a lot on the show. He is waiting for a best of three because he won at the U.S. Open. Nate Desmond, class of 2025, is entered into this tournament. And also part of this discussion, they're former teammates at Wyoming Seminary. Now, I do have a stronger opinion about this one. I've let people know just what I think of Luke Lillidahl and his potential. I think he could be more than just a two-time NCAA champion. I think he could be a three-time. I even think he could be a four-time if everything goes well. Lillidahl is as great as it gets when it comes to being a prospect. I'm not saying Desmond can't win. I'm not saying Nesdeo can't get there and challenge him, but Luke Lillidahl is defeating senior level wrestlers in the present. He was at the Olympic World Team Trials winning matchups. He just won the Junior Hodge Trophy. Congrats, Lightning Luke. So he is in consideration. He's in the conversation, whether the rankings have him there or just because of what he's accumulated in terms of accolades, that he is the best pound for pound wrestler in 2024. So Zach Ryder's in that conversation. Luke Lillidahl is in that conversation as well. And Desmond, to his own respect, is a top 20 pound for pound wrestler in the class of 2025. So I'm not discounting him. I'm not discounting Nesdeo either. Luke Lillidahl, for what it is all worth, is just further ahead, and it shows. But at the end of the day, they all wrestle for Penn State. And Desmond and Lillidahl are both committed to Penn State. Nesdeo is already in the wrestling room. Now, the final part of this show is really looking ahead. Class of 2026, Bo Bassett. Now, is there an indication that Bassett could be leaning Penn State? I think it's still too early to tell, but this bit of news is a good sign. We'll wrap up with that coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Bo Bassett's recruitment will be the battle of the decade, and maybe even for the past 2 decades. Bo Bassett has that kind of pedigree already as a class of 2026 wrestler. Now, why am I saying he could be leaning Penn State when he hasn't exactly made a real indication as far as which schools he likes the most? I mean, he is in the state of Pennsylvania. Penn State is the best wrestling program in the nation, and it's been that way for quite some time now. Well, Bo is waiting at in the best of 3 finals at the U20, just like some of these other Penn State commits. Okay, that's what they have in common here. Bo Bassett, uncommitted at this point. But he isn't just training with anybody to prepare for the World Team Trials here. No. He has been training with quite the all-star cast. You want to know who those wrestlers are and who he's been training with? Mitchell Messenbrink, Bo Nickel, and Kyle Dake. Oh, that is quite the staff. That is quite the regimen to be working with to get prepared for this kind of competition. Messenbrink, Nickel, and Dake. For anyone not familiar with Bo Bassett, I believe he is truly has the potential to be the best wrestling prospect of the past decade, maybe even more than that. I've already said that it is the biggest recruiting battle of the past decade. So why not say that he's the best prospect? Because if it's going to command that kind of battle, it's because he's that good of a prospect. He is defeating college level wrestlers left and right. He's been entering these open tournaments, and he will just boat race the competition, just buzz saws right through them. Same thing. It's not even fair at the high school level. He wins national tournament after national tournament. He's undefeated in high school. He usually wins by double digits, tech balls, or pin. He usually pins his opponent in less than 60 seconds or gets a tech ball in 2 to 3 minutes. It's not fair at the high school level. That is how good Bo Bassett is, and he's waiting in the U20, 65 kilos. And I don't see anybody challenging him in that bracket. So he's going to be waiting patiently. There is not a name that is listed that is entered into this tournament that I see upsetting him in any sort of way. And I don't even think there's anybody that can challenge him, that can even give him a run for his money. That's right. That is how good he is. He's from Pennsylvania, so we could chalk this information up simply to geographical convenience, if you will, right? He's in Pennsylvania. These wrestlers are in Pennsylvania as well. You know, Bo Nickel graduating from Penn State, Mitchell Messenbrink wrestling at Penn State, and Kyle Dake being a part of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. So there's an element of convenience to this. But it is worth pointing out that these three best wrestlers in the nation historically, when it comes to the sport, are affiliated with Penn State or the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, not Michigan or Cliff Keen, not Ohio State, not Oklahoma State, not Iowa, Penn State. So that's a good sign. That's at the very minimum, that is a good sign for Bo Bassett to Penn State, even though it is not an official indication or him outright saying, hey, Penn State's my top school at the end of the day, and this is where I'm looking towards my commitment. Now, I do want to end the show on this note of the list of all 19 wrestlers that are either Penn State wrestlers or a part of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club or committed to Penn State. So 19 wrestlers affiliated with Penn State or the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club in some sort of fashion. The recruits are Nate Desmond and Luke Lillidahl, PJ Duke, Joe Seeley, Zach Ryder, William Henkel, and Connor and Cole Mirasola all entered into the U20 tournament. I mean, go figure, right? Because they are recruits. They're coming out of high school, so the U20 does make sense for them. As far as current Penn State wrestlers go, for the U20, Kalen Nesdeo, Kaiason Garcia, Tyler Kasak, and Josh Barr. For the U23, Gary Steen, Aaron Nagel, Matt Rodriguez, Connor Pierce, Eric Gibson, Lucas Cochran, and Greg Kirkfleet. That is quite the list. It'll be exciting, and I'm eager to see what the results will be after this weekend. The finals are set for the U20 on Saturday. The finals for U23 are on Sunday for anyone that didn't know. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. I appreciate you checking out this episode. And for more Penn State wrestling content, keep it right here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And once again, thanks so much for checking out this episode of Locked On Nittany Lions. If you got a comment about Penn State wrestling, there's a wrestler this weekend that's competing that you are most excited to watch, let me know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this discussion, leave a like on the episode, share it with friends and family, and if you're not already, become an everyday or subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast for the latest conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams. And of course, don't forget, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering each and every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on YouTube and on the free Fire TV channels app.